This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
Welcome back to the show. We are honored to have Craig Quaglia back with us, the owner and LMT from Myofascial Trigger Point therapist from CraigQuagliaTriggerPointExpert.com. That's the name of the company. He's joining us again here live to talk more about this work that he's been doing for over 30-something years, right? I know it was wrong in the notes. It's like 38 now, right? Yeah.
Yes.
And we have a lot to talk about today. So first and foremost, let me have him introduce himself and tell you a little bit about the work that he does. Craig, would you mind enlightening us?
No, not at all. My name's Craig Quaglia. I'm a myofascial trigger point therapist of 38 years. I was fortunate to go to the renowned School of Chicago, School of Massage Therapy. My experience is varied. I had the great fortune to work with some great therapists, great doctors, and some great pain clinics, constantly watching my field evolve. When I start to work with somebody, it's usually for 90 minutes. I get into their history. I find out what's going on with them. I really listen because I find that's really an important part of everything. And work to create a relationship because they're not coming to me because they want to. They're coming to me because they've gone through the system and it hasn't worked for them. So I got a lot of things to deal with emotionally, physically, cognitively, and the list just goes on. So last week we talked about life-changing chronic pain for people. We touched on a lot of different things, and we ended with the story of Sally. Remember Sally?
Yes.
And that one has constantly haunted me, but it's also one of the things that drives me to keep up, look, integrate whatever it is that would help you as a person or as my patient or client.
And could you just recap that story for our listeners today?
Yeah, she was in a terrible car accident. She had gone through the system, been hospitalized. The problem with that situation was it was a car accident. So the doctors and the hospitals, they don't normally get paid right away. So they're not as incentivized to work with her in a way. And there wasn't anything in terms of a holistic model, which is something we talked about and we're going to touch back on today. To make a long story short, in this case, she became addicted to opioids. We were never able to quite get her over the top. And the reason was there wasn't resources, there wasn't a team approach, and the pain, by the time I got to her, had set up so badly that it was running her life. It cost her a job, it cost her living arrangement. Her life had just spiraled down to over a 20-year period. She was a fighter. She is one of the most courageous people I've ever run into in the face of all these kind of things going on all at one time, just messing up her life. So that's what we talked about. And I left it on a sour note a little bit because I could not, when we would make some progress, something would come along and change that. All right. Part of the reason was she was in the movie industry, and people like her need schedules to be stable, not to be working 18 hours a day so they can start taking care of themselves and do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where we left that. But that's one of the motivators for me, because I have several of these kind of people. And unfortunately, that is one that haunts me. Today, we're going to talk about life-changing pain, but in a different way. It may not be life-changing for the rest of your life, especially if you're an athlete, but it may be in the moment when you're trying to accomplish a passion or a dream. So one of the things that I want to talk about today, this is Chicago Marathon Week, and everything right now going on is about the Chicago Marathon. So I've had the great pleasure to work with athletes from children to Olympians to Pan American game athletes, all different types. The thing about the athletes they're a different breed of people. They don't necessarily if we're going to stick with runners today.
Yeah,
Runners,
I know that. By the way, that is our focus today, which we didn't really get to, but yes, we're talking about running and Olympic
yeah,
athletes, and all that you work with, especially here in the Chicago area for like the marathon and stuff. So
yeah.
yeah, I want to hear about.
So the bottom line is I had somebody come in yesterday. She's been training since May, and boom, the hip, knee, leg started to really impact her running. She couldn't get more than 2 miles in before she was in pain. Now, she's a PT, so she knows all the correct things to be doing, and none of it was working.
Yeah.
So actually it was Tuesday. So we worked together Tuesday, and it's nice because she has all the understanding, the anatomy, the physiology, so on and so forth. And we brought the pain down to zero. So she finally went running again this morning, and we talked, and it feels better, but she has a nagging feeling that she might not be able to to finish the race. What's nice is we have tomorrow to go ahead and really impact this and help her finish the race. So you're dealing with somebody that has anatomy, physiology, but who's a runner. She also rides bikes. She's not one of these people that just sits around all day long or just doesn't have a life other than her PT. So the bottom line is each sport that we could talk about today, basketball, football, running, squash, these are all people that I work with. Each one of them has their own musculoskeletal pain syndromes that come forward. A baseball player, definitely a first baseman's pain is going to be different than the pitcher because of the actions and all the different things they do. A football player, if I get a football player the day after the game, got to come at it at a totally different approach because, yeah. So this is where we're back to treating the person, not coming in with just So one of the nice things about working with these guys is they're smart. Sometimes their money, their living depends on it. Sometimes it's just their egos and they want to get out there and do the best thing to do. So a lot of times they've learned, especially the older they get, to come in fast because that's the difference between not descending into chronic pain and we get to take care of it quickly. So it's really great. Dancers. I've had the great fortune to work with dancers, tango dancers particularly. They're on their feet 8 hours a day, teaching sometimes or doing shows, or you can't even begin.
I can't. Yeah, and my friends who do like point. I was dance teachers do dance, but I never did point. And that my friends have so many feet and ankle issues now in their 40s. But
that's right.
it's grueling.
And that's when I start to see them because they still want to do that. And then we got to step them back and say, all right, you got to start looking at this a little bit differently. So today we're going to talk about the runners mostly. And the thing about runners, they're a different breed of people. All right. They run for many reasons. Sometimes it's to reduce stress. Sometimes there's a competitive thing. Sometimes it's the camaraderie of running with a group of people. We have something called Best Foot Forward, where a women's group in Oak Park here, where they run together and get to know each other and then start doing political things. So it goes beyond the running sometimes. Sometimes it's solitary downtime. We just get away from the family, get away from the stress of the job. The thing is they run in all types of weather, hot, cold, rain. Rain is usually the time where you're most likely to get injured. So you got to be careful. They run when injuries. And like you were pointing out about the dancers that they get in their 40s, these things sometimes become cumulative. And if you're going to continue to do it, whether you have an ankle, knee, hip, or lower leg problem, you want to start looking at this differently in order to indulge your passion. Okay. So if you don't, then you're going to have what's happening with her name's Robin, where if she isn't paying attention to it, she's not going to make it through that race. And now she was smart enough to know that. She knows her body. She is in her 40s. So she's a PT. So this is a great thing. But when you have a sudden onset of pain in the pursuit of your dream, and in this case, this weekend, it's the Chicago Marathon, which, by the way, we're going to get back into the holistic model because the Chicago Marathon is holistic. Paramedics, nurses, med techs, massage therapists, PTs, they're all going to be out there working. if you could do that kind of healthcare throughout the whole system, you would get the same results you get. So the result is that all these resources that are out there, and by the way, I think it's something like 40,000 runners. That's just the runners. That's not talking about the crowds that are going to cheer them on. That's not counting about the support people other than the medical people that we just pointed out. That's going to be a huge undertaking that goes on, and they've been doing it so long now, they got it pretty well down. So when somebody starts to train for something, for a 26-mile run, you can't just go out and do this. And the people who do end up getting hurt. They do not train properly. They'll start doing this training 16 to 20 weeks before the race, the actual day, and then start to increase the mileage, figure out what the issues are. Usually in the first 2 to 3 weeks is when they're most likely to get injured. And then they start to come in and we start to resolve that and get everything back into balance. The training schedules include long runs, speed work, and then we teach them that rest days are important. You don't go out and run every day. You have to give your body some time to heal. So even though she's going to be running a 26-mile race, she has tapped it down right now. Before the race, she's only running 2 miles. And that's part of the training process, because you don't want to beat your body. But at the 2 miles, she found out she had a problem. So she's dealing with that. So that's really good. But the most common injuries that we see are
Is it the Achilles? Shin splint.
Yeah, Achilles is the second one. Yes.
Well, I got to tell you my New York City Marathon story after this. I never did it though, but yes, that's another big one. Oh.
All right, jump in anytime with that one. Plantar fasciitis, iliotibial syndrome. Stress fractures are really bad things to have. And the funny thing about it is most people don't know they have it until it gets so bad. And that's it. You should usually stop running at that point. So that's just one thing that you start to deal with. The other thing is during the race comes a whole set of problems, potential problems. Now, I just checked the weather for Saturday. It's actually going to be great weather for running. It's not going to get higher than the 60s. It's going to be in the 50s for runners. They like it where it's somewhere in the upper 50s, 60s when they're doing something like this.
Yes.
Not raining. I've worked one where it was raining, and it was like when they came into the tents, it was like a MASH unit. People are just, they were just beat up in ways. But the one we really worry about is muscle cramps and fatigue-related injuries. Okay, and dehydration, which probably won't be a big issue here. But in 2007, they had to shut down the whole Chicago Marathon because we had a heat wave going on, high humidity. They went through the water, and all of a sudden, people were literally, without exaggeration, dropping like flies. And believe me, after that day, every Chicago therapist was overwhelmed with people because they really took a beating. So one of the things we want to try to do is avoid those kind of things. And one of the things that goes on is they make sure there's plenty of water being passed out along the course. Route course.
Yeah, I worked at a television station like maybe 10 years ago. We all decided we're all going to start training for the marathon. Some were runners, some weren't.
Yeah.
There was a group of about 15 of us. Well, when I tell you only 3 made it to it, I started training. I sprained my ankle. I had 3 people with Achilles injuries, shin splints, broken ankle. This is all before we dropped like flies before. It was like really the survival of the fittest who can make it. And at that point, and it was even one that was a real athlete. The others weren't even athletes, but they trained their bodies, but everybody's body's different. And it's like to see how many of us got wiped out. Like it was going to be like we were going to film a whole thing on it. And then it was like, we don't even have enough people to film. We're not even participating. Like, the producers, the writers, it was just, it's a lot. And
it gives you a whole different appreciation for what they're doing, So that's really important. The nice thing is because they take the holistic approach and they're having all these people out there, hospitalizations are minimal. And the injuries as a rule are very minor. And a lot of times they're being dressed as they're coming off the line, there's tents set up with massage therapists who do a very upbeat kind of massage therapy with the idea of mitigating and reducing the soreness that could possibly come later. And then for those who are really smart, they come in and they see us and we deal with whatever the issue is at that time that might interfere. And at this point, they're going to allow some time to recover. But runners, like I said, they're a little on the crazy side. They're already talking about the next run, and not even 26 miles. They're talking ultra marathons or doing the Tin Man, those kind. So it's interesting. So mostly when they follow this pattern, the soreness resolves in days, serious injuries are dealt with immediately. And in this case, then you don't have a situation where it turns into chronic pain, all right? So we were talking about when they come off the line, the first thing we want to do is just improve flexibility. As I said before, speed up the recovery time. Definitely we're talking rest, hydration, proper nutrition, just listening to your body at that point and working with it in such a way that it repairs quickly. And for those who are going to pursue, because a lot of them use like New York or Chicago to qualify for Boston, to qualify for Tokyo. So, like we said before, they're a different group of people. Now, I'm going to talk about an Olympic skater that I worked with in 2007. Olympic skater, he was a pair skater.
Yeah.
That's not just a year commitment to do a race. That's 20 years commitment to get to the Olympic Games and all the different aspects of it that you have to go through. Work with your partner, make it look effortlessly, make it look artistic, make it look fun, attract the crowd. That's a lot to do on trying to get to the Olympics. So I had a young man named Eric, who was probably 28 at the time.
Yep.
He had the body of Adonis. But what happened is in the process of training, threw her up in the air and something happened where he tore a rotator cuff muscle in his arm. Now, to skate, balance, throw somebody in the air, catch them, and make it look effortless is beyond anything you and I will ever be able to do. The problem was, this was right before the trials to get to the Olympic game. So he started to do what possibly you did when you sprained your ankle. You started making adjustments in how you're trying to run. And the problem with that is you start recruiting muscles into doing things that they should not be doing. So by the time he came to me, he was in terrible pain. Where he was going to qualify, the qualifications were a few weeks away. And here it was, a 20-year dream on the line, and he can't do what he needs to do.
Yeah.
So he came to me out of desperation. Now, you would think, at that time, I thought the Olympics committees would make sure they got everything. They didn't at that point. I don't know if that's changed or not. So by the time he came to me, his body was going off in all kinds of directions. It wasn't balanced. He was in terrible pain. He had recruited muscles to do things that they shouldn't be able to do. Surgery definitely was in the future because of the rotator cuff. So no matter what, coming to me, it was an now or never kind of a thing. He had nothing to lose, all right? So when he laid on the table, we began to talk, and I could feel there was a sense of, defeat going on, or this isn't going to work. And, there was no energy. There was no emotional affect. It was like he had accepted the fact that he was not going to do this.
Do it, yeah.
Yeah. So I figured we went all out. It was a 2-hour session, and I figured we had nothing to lose, because usually you don't do deep work before somebody's going off. You don't want to change, but here we wanted to change the asymmetry that was going on. So slowly over the first hour, we're going in, we're working, I'm finding all the different trigger points. He's giving me feedback. The first thing I noticed is his energy started to change. The second thing I noticed, his body wasn't doing crazy things that you might see in a horror movie.
Yep.
So slowly working through everything, muscle group by muscle group, starting around the entire shoulder, going down into the lower back, into the legs, the entire body from head to toe. Something happened. He started to straighten out. His energy started to come back. When he got off the table, his body was in alignment. His range of motion was back. I got to tell you the truth.
You were.
I was blown away.
You were impressed.
Yeah,
wow.
I was impressed. I'm like, damn it! I should have filmed this or taken pictures.
Yeah, right before and after. Yeah. Of course.
So he went down, and they qualified. They went to the Olympic Games. They went.
My.
He got his dream, and he went. And before he left,
wow.
I sent a card or something, and telling him, this is what you worked for. No matter what happens, you got there. And later on, he said, without us working together, that wouldn't have happened. And that is one of the reasons why I continue to do what I do and learn as much as I can learn and work with people who are in the process of pursuing their dream, whether it's that or just the dream of being able to walk up and down the stairs again or get up and in and out of a car without being in pain. So for everybody, it's different. So I have one more because I know we're always on the clock.
Yes, and I want to know about the witch behind you. I'm sorry, it's the holiday season.
Yeah, we forgot about her.
I know. How could you not? Who's your witch? Tell us. It's very low.
Yeah, she sits in the entranceway of my waiting room with a bunch of others. So when she goes off, there's like 5 or 6 of them that go off. So we have fun with these things. All right. So I have a 76-year-old, 3-time qualified Olympian in the high jumper. By the way, 76 years old, he's still jumping.
Amazing.
Yes, amazing. Had injuries over the course of his years, came to me 7 years ago, and he actually had a Achilles tendon blowout where it tore away on his left side and rolled up the back of his leg. So this was in the 90s, and then stopped jumping. Got inducted into the Amateur Athletic Union Hall of Fame as a high jumper.
Yeah.
And then decided 7 years ago that he wanted to start jumping in his age groups. So people, it's interesting because I get 2 reactions when they see the chart downstairs with his picture and all the accomplishments and the fact that he's still jumping. So one of the reactions from people who are older is like, why is he doing this? Is he nuts? Kind of a thing. And my response, maybe it's flippant, but if you have to ask that question, then you don't understand. No, but people who are athletes who are still athletes, still doing their thing in their 50s, 60s, from all the way from the kids up, they look and they go, wow, whoa, that is really cool. This guy's still doing it. And he's still setting records in his age group. And until a year or two was rated in the top 4, 5, 6, he's trying to work his way back up.
Yeah.
So one of the things we're doing now is we're working to prevent injuries, to increase range of motion. We use the holistic approach where I might be using shockwave, a pulsating electromagnetic field. We've introduced him to vibrating plates. They're great. It's a great tool. We know for a while he has osteoarthritis in his hip. We were able to bring that down, all the way down, so that he can continue to jump. It wasn't spreading out from his hip to his knee to his ankle, like we were talking about the runner. He's still competing, and he's taking all this knowledge and experience, and he volunteered to work with high school athletes in this program from his old high school where he started out and began his trip into fame. And the first thing that happened was that whole program began to change, and for the first time in years, they were sending kids downstate to compete for medals. And so they've been, along with the coaches and everybody else, he has been able to take all that knowledge, take that experience, including the injuries, because kids get injured, and somehow find a way to motivate them and pass on what he learns. And he's still continuing to jump. he still continues to jump. So the first thing he comes in is I ask him, did you jump today? He has his own pit. He has his own bar. He goes around to the different facilities, and they know when he walks in the door, this is what he's going to do. That is an amazing story. He's 76 years old, still jumping. He's going to continue to jump. And I'm always fascinated at people's response. Why would he do this? Is he crazy or something?
Yeah, right.
But it gives him something to. It still excites him. It still excites him.
My goodness.
Yeah,
and that's what we need. We need a purpose, or else sometimes our body, mentally, physically, emotionally, we lose it. And that's why people work till they're like 90 sometimes these days now. It's like,
yes, you got, people are like, when are you going to retire? I'm like, I spent a lifetime learning this. Why would I retire? I might slow down, but I'm not going to retire.
Yeah.
What I have these things to offer at this point. So
exactly.
Yeah. So we could probably leave it there today, but that's the good thing about it. We help people recover their dreams, fulfill their dreams, quality of life, recover their relationships. What is not too excited about that? So
right. Oh my gosh.
So if you ever decide to run again for the New York, make sure you find a good therapist. That's my coaching for you.
And you don't run, you said, right?
No, not anymore. When my knee went bad, my left knee went bad, I went to tango dancing, and that opened up a bunch of whole doors. And let me tell you, dancers will qualify with runners anytime because they dance all night. They do crazy, like you said before. And that was among the best 10 years of my life, because not only did I dance, I met people from all over the world.
And then you have all these clients now that are tango dancers.
That's right. I do.
I still have therapy.
I was talking to one yesterday. Yeah. So,
good.
Yeah. So you never know where these things are going to take you. And it turns life into one big adventure, and it takes something negative, and hopefully you get to work with into something positive.
And Saturday, are you going to be there? Are you going to be helping out some people?
Not this year. Some years I'm there, some years I'm not. I might, because I might be off. I don't know for sure. You made me think about it, because the weather is going to be nice, so I may go in and go down. It wouldn't take long to get down there from here. So I may do that. It's been a while to do it, and the crowds are really great. They just,
I'm sure,
everybody, and you just get to watch people just push it and take it on and achieve something at least once in their life, maybe that they thought they never could achieve. And a lot of people will say to you, I'm glad I did it. I may never do it again, but I'm glad I did it.
Or at least I attempted to, even though I couldn't finish, but it gives you that peace of mind where you tried, right?
And the appreciation for when somebody says, I'm going to do this, or I did it, and you're like, you go. I'm in your corner. So
exactly. All right, Craig, how can we contact you?
Craig Quaglia, Myofascial CraigQuagliaTriggerPointExpert.com.
Beautiful.
708-524-8812. So in the future, I'm going to bring in the high jumper, by the way.
Awesome. I know we talked. Good. We're looking forward to having a guest. Thank you.
So soon doing that, and doctors that I work with, other massage. When November comes, we call that fibromyalgia weather. We're going to talk about that because that's when it really becomes difficult and challenging for the next 4, 5, 6 months of that time of year. So I have an agenda, and I'll be forwarding it to you along the way.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks. This was fun today. We should do this again.
Lots of energy today. Thank you. And thank you to our witch friend. Thank you for all you do, Craig. We'll talk soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.